Thank you guys for coming. My name's Chirag. I'm one of the co-founders of Mission Matters. We're one of the co-hosts of the evening alongside our counterparts of Stark Health, Todd and Alice here. Give you guys a little context. Our company, Mission Matters, we're a media platform, reach a few million people a month, create tons of content. We organize 80, 90 events year-round and globally. Along with that, we have an entire agency, branding and marketing agency side to our business. Part of that is specializing in personal and corporate branding. And then we also help those same folks execute that brand strategy that we develop, whether it's helping folks publish books, helping launch podcasts, helping manage social media. Speaking of podcasts, Mission Matters runs Todd's Health is a Skill podcast. So definitely check it out. A lot of the content that you guys are going to be hearing here tonight is similar to the content that he shares on his podcast with many of the guests that he interviews. We also run a think tank, and we have a community of mission-driven leaders that we bring together as well. So tonight, our content, we host these events once a month, and we change the topics pretty frequently. Today's topic is all focused on hormonal health and essentially peptides and metabolism and how that can impact the body and everything. And so just to dive into it, I'm going to share Todd and Alice's background, their bios, and then would love to maybe start off by sharing what Stark Health is after that. So Todd Van de Hey is the founder of a Southern California-based healthcare company called Stark Health. He's redefining what it means to practice medicine. At the heart of his mission is a shift away from reactive pharmaceutical-dependent care and toward a proactive model grounded in root cause of healing. His clinics integrate advanced diagnostics like DEXA scans and comprehensive lab work with non-pharmaceutical interventions, including strength training, nutrition, lifestyle optimization, and stress management. When he's not leading his team or dissecting lab results, you'll find Todd out hunting, kite surfing, or geeking out on science of peak performance, always in the pursuit of deeper truths about the body, mind, and what it means to live well. So thank you, Todd, for hosting us. And then Dr. Alice Wynn, as Stark's Director of Naturopathic Medicine, Dr. Alice Wynn specializes in peak performance via targeted nutrition, key supplementation, pharmaceutical interventions, and advanced anti-aging tactics. She integrates modern medicine with natural therapies to help individuals achieve optimal wellness in body, mind, and spirit. She holds a third-degree black belt in 2 traditional martial arts. Not going to mess with you, that's for sure. Please give a round of applause to our panelists.
Thank you.
Awesome. So, been asked quite a bit, and I always do. What is Stark Health, and what exactly do you guys do here?
Well, we're in the business of health optimization, so we take healthy people and lead them to a state of their most healthy version. And we do that in a holistic way. We primarily use lifestyle, exercise, nutrition, and stress management with a heavy dose of analytics, so we really understand what's happening with your body and where you're heading and where you're starting. And then we layer on top of that things like hormone replacement therapy and other therapies that I find very exciting, like exosome IVs and other forms of IVs like NED that some of you guys have probably already used. Yeah, but we're essentially a healthcare practice, but we're on the opposite end of healthcare from the traditional medical system.
So sick care to more preventative care.
I wouldn't say even preventative. I think we're far beyond preventative. We're more like, how good can you actually be? That's what we're targeting.
Peak performance.
Peak performance.
I'll do a plug for myself. So for Stark. So I've been a client of Stark Health since started in the summer. It's like 8-9 months. And I told him my goal here is peak performance, but like body. I want Brad Pitt Fight Club. Like that's just let's just make it simple. So the goal was started at 22% body fat. It's been I think 8-9 months. I shrank down to 16% body fat. I had my first after I took the DEXA scan. I had a regression, so I went backwards by like 1.5%. I'm at like 17% body fat right now. So there's a challenge called the Stark Naked Challenge, which is you're not completely naked, you're almost naked, but essentially you're taking bodybuilding photos, and there's a whole contribution to charity. And I decided to do it because what better way to push myself to hit the single-digit body fat percentage. What was interesting is that I was so ticked off the day I found out that I didn't actually that I regressed, that I just needed to run, and I ended up running 8 miles in like an hour, which I haven't done that ever actually, and I did it in like 7 minutes 45 seconds. And so I was like, if I still had energy in the tank. The following day, I beat it again, 7 minutes 20 seconds. And just for shits and giggles, right before this, I was like, I haven't timed myself in a mile since high school, and I think I did like 7 minutes. I did 6 minutes 24 seconds on that on that machine right there. So I was like, no interest in competing and running marathons, but just wanted to share just keeping the data, tracking.
It makes sense. It makes sense that when your body becomes more optimally healthy, you'd be shocked at what you're able to accomplish. I've experienced things like that over and over again, like swimming across the Caribbean Sea. It was like 3.5 miles. I'm not a swimmer. I've never swam more than, I don't know, like 100 yards. And I was able to make it across. And an extreme race with my brother in a canoe over 4 days, no sleep, was able to push through that. It's, I guess what I'm trying to share is that the way we're designed, what you can accomplish with your body is extraordinary, just based on the way you're designed. Our lifestyles and the things like the food that we eat kind of get in the way. They create barriers to what your potential actually is. And so if you extrapolate that into your profession or things that are really important to you, everything becomes better and easier and more exciting and more fulfilling in a healthy body, right?
Oh yeah.
Like you're running, even though you got all chubby.
I know. Seriously. Actually, speaking of chubby, our counterpart, Matt Cook, who lives in Arizona, he ended up losing like 40 pounds, give or take. So he lost close to 40 pounds, and then I think he was struggling with the little one, trying to have a baby, and they actually just officially.
Oh, we were just talking about
life.
That concept.
Yeah.
He's in the fertility business.
Oh yeah, that's right. Paul is in the fertility business. So anyways, push through. Matt has a little one on the way. So
That's
wanted
exciting.
to, I don't know if you mentioned that to you or not, but
No, not yet.
well, soon. We'll chop
We'll
that.
post this later.
Yeah. That'll be cut out of this. Anyways, so if someone looks healthy on the outside but has poor metabolic health internally, what are the signals you guys look for, and why do most people miss them?
I've come across a lot of patients who had no idea they had diabetes. And when you look at them, they're not obese. And for some of them, I can think of one in particular who's been under. Someone in the audience. Yeah, it is. So they would come to us, and again, a lot of men in particular, they don't see a doctor. So it's unusual here. Our patients actually see us for medical care, at least doing comprehensive labs at least once a quarter. That's ideal. But many men that I first initially encounter in our intakes, I would ask them, like, hey, when's the last time you seen a doctor? When was the last time you had labs done? And majority of the time, they're like, yeah, I haven't seen a doctor in 10 years. I was like, oh. So I have come across some patients where they look thin. Like you would not suspect that they would actually have diabetes or prediabetes. And upon further testing, they do. Like their A1C is in the borderline or overtly high range, and they have no idea. So it's one of those things where it's kind of like blood pressure. A lot of people are walking around, they have no idea they have elevated blood pressure until they actually go in and see a doctor or have it randomly taken at the pharmacy or the drugstore, and it's off the charts. So you will do all the testing to really kind of evaluate that. But yeah, a lot of people won't know unless they actually look.
And the information may seem scary, but we're in a position of power when it comes to changing these metrics. And so if it's early enough and you're willing, you can just, I don't know, sleep more. You can change your diet. Picking on my Chinese friend over here that doesn't sleep at all. You can change your diet a little bit, move more, and some of these metrics can start to change. And over a long period of time, you have a tremendous amount of power. So they're not I'm guessing that your patients respond with shock and horror, but there's a lot that can be done. You don't be afraid of, what am I trying to say? Don't be afraid of the data. Like, get the data and know where you are, and then take action against it. They're all also, this is the way I look at it anyway, when I see a lab marker or some other metric on my body that's not optimal, I'm like, cool, another thing to work on, to improve upon, which I find really exciting because we're so able to change those things.
How about for like both men and women? What are the most common hormone imbalances that you're seeing right now, and what are people getting completely wrong about fixing them that you guys have noticed?
Both men and women, low testosterone.
Oh wow, women too?
Yeah. We women actually make more testosterone in our bodies than actually estrogen and progesterone.
Oh wow. What function does testosterone have?
For both men and women, to build muscle, protect your bones, and optimize your metabolism, but protect your brain as well. So the sex hormones are misnomers, by the way. They're not really just working on your genitals and your gonads. What's not really discussed in detail and appreciated more in detail is how it affects the brain. So from a mental health standpoint, we've treated thousands of men and women with hormone replacement therapy or optimization of their hormones through lifestyle, and you wouldn't believe how much their mental health actually improves. And the flip side, if it tanks any of those hormones, you'll see it as well. Like their mental health starts to decline.
I can speak to that as a patient. So I'm 58. When I was 50, I started TRT, and that was early for TRT. Like, people didn't do that back then. It was considered to be like bodybuilder type stuff, and it's really not. It's just you bring yourself back up, or the doctor brings you up to where you theoretically were when you were like 30 at your theoretical peak. And I was shocked at how sharp I felt within maybe 3 weeks. The first thing I noticed was I was forcing myself to work out. Who works out in here? Oh, okay, that's good. Okay, I don't know if you can relate to this, but up until that point in time, I was just making myself do it. Like, I'd go into the gym and be like, oh, another one of these, and I'd just grind my way through it, right? And one afternoon, I walked over to a barbell to do a deadlift, which I hate. Well, I mean, I hate all of it, to be honest. Should I be even saying that? And I bent over and I put my hands on the barbell, and this flashed through my head. I want to do this. It was a shocking moment because it had been so many years of me just trying to grind through it. I really wanted to do the workout, and it was startling. I was like, oh, is this the testosterone that's actually starting to work? And I didn't understand at the moment. I just hadn't read enough. I was just doing what the medical team at Stark was telling me to do. But it was a profound shift. And after that, as a patient, the experience of, like, I had notes everywhere on everything, to-do lists and trying to keep track of things. And suddenly I just started remembering everything. And I didn't need the lists like I did before. And I was enthusiastic. Like, the sky seemed bluer, the sun shined brighter. I think I'm funnier. That's questionable. Debatable, yeah. Everything started firing. It reminded me of youth, which is effectively what it is, hormonally speaking. So when she talks about sex hormone receptors being primarily clustered in the brain, you can actually feel it. You can experience it. In all whatever's deficient in you, remembering names or being focused or having a sense of peace of mind, those things come rushing back. That potential that you have it's like a switch gets flipped back on. It's really quite exciting. It does also affect the gonads too. I don't know if I want to talk about that here.
You can. It's your space.
I mean, okay, I'll share one little Alyssa, don't listen to this. One morning, like, I don't know, it was maybe a month or 3 weeks in, I woke up and, I had to pee, right? You guys have to pee in the morning? Everybody with me? You guys pee in the morning, right? This guy doesn't. He's only sleeping 3 hours a night. So when would morning even be for you? So I get up, I go to the bathroom, and I realize, wow, I have an erection like I did for the first 30 years of my life, and then it slowly started declining. wow, that thing's back. And I'm like, it's not going away. 15 minutes later, I start freaking out. I had to pee in the shower because I couldn't push it downward. Is this TMI? Because then it would cut off. Because it was a youthful erection.
Yeah.
Right? And it wasn't going away, so I panicked. Finally, it went away, and I called our medical team. I'm like, hey, am I going to be okay? And they're like, it's fine, it's fine. That was one event, but those sort of things happen because all your business starts switching back on again that have been slowly. It's more like, for men, it's more like a dimmer switch. Like over time, after 30, it's like, I'm going to turn that down, and very, very slowly, you're going to stop forgetting how to be so funny and how to be focused and remember people's names and the things that are important to you and focus. And all of a sudden, it's like, gets switched all the way back on. It's like, wow, this is part of that youth that I slowly lost. Is that TMI?
You got audience participation.
This guy's
so
my Chinese friend over here.
I was waiting for a couple actual laughs, right? So we got them. Okay, you mentioned TRT and you mentioned like all these hormones. Peptides is the hottest craze right now. Everyone and their mom is talking about it. My mom actually asked me like, what's a peptide? And I'm like, where the hell did you learn that? I was like, you don't even know what I do for a living. And so it's just like, anyways, what is this whole peptide craze and how is this impacting even a lot of the patients that you or clients that you guys are working with?
So a lot of people are not aware that the GLP-1s, like Ozempic and Mounjaro, are all peptides. A lot of people Insulin is also a peptide. HCG, peptide. What's interesting is that that's only like what everyone kind of knows when it comes to the peptide world. But again, a lot of people are not even aware of that. Now, there are thousands of different peptides. A lot of them actually a lot of the studies originally came from Russia. So this has been around for decades. Just to give you an idea, my first introduction to the peptides was in about 2010. One of my early mentors introduced me to a peptide called epitalin, which is the anti-aging one. It supposedly lengthens the telomeres. So these are the end caps of DNA that shortens as you get older, or if you are excessively stressed, or if you're in a disease process, it's shorter and shorter. And supposedly this peptide will actually lengthen it. So there is a lot of the studies are in animal models. Lots of them have been used for decades, and a lot of it is kind of like research use. A lot of people are just kind of experimenting on themselves. But there are some that will actually help release growth hormone, for example. So that's going to be things like the sermorelin or CJC. Now, there are those that will actually help really kind of reduce that visceral fat. And that particular medication is called tesmorelin. Now, the FDA approved indication for that medication is actually for HIV or AIDS-related lipodystrophy. So during the AIDS or the HIV process, these patients will actually have a lot of visceral fat that will develop. And this particular peptide is extremely effective at burning that down or bringing that down. Now, if you don't have that diagnosis and you try to get that at any pharmacy, and you have to pay cash for it, it's like $2,000 to $3,000 actually. So that's something where some compounding pharmacies are actually compounding it and for a much cheaper price. So those are kind of things. Now, have I ever seen any of these peptides increase testosterone or any of the hormones? I haven't, unless, you can make an argument if the patient was morbidly obese and they had a lot of high percent body fat and you just had to bring that body fat percentage down, then using, for example, Ozempic or Mounjaro could potentially reduce the body fat, which will then improve their hormone production. But I've actually seen the opposite. So I've seen patients where they've been on it for a very long time. They've lost a ton of weight, and this is including muscle and fat mass, and then their hormones actually start to tank as well because they're in extreme caloric deficit. And whenever you are in extreme caloric deficit, that is when your hormone production will actually start to tank. Because as you or our fertility specialists know, fertility, or at least hormone production, it is a luxury, it is not a necessity. So if you don't have enough food coming in and you're starving yourself, then your body's going to shut down reproductive function. And it's like, nope, no hormones. We don't need it. We need to reserve that energy to maintain your heartbeat, your brain function, your liver function. So that's where you can actually come into some harm with the peptides. When it comes to hormone health, that is.
When you're, how does stress play a factor in all of this when it comes to disrupting hormones, metabolism, and then even at a physiological level, I guess, how do high performers tend to underestimate the damage from stress in general?
So we were not meant to be in a period of extended amount of stress for a long period of time, for like weeks or months or years on end. Traditionally, I guess in olden times, if a stressor came our way, either a lion's going after us or, we have to fight something off, we'll go to war with another kind of neighboring, group, that kind of stressor, that elevation in cortisol will be very, very short, and then you get to relax. That's not happening in our kind of society nowadays. Now you're basically facing either work stress, family stress, marital stress, kid stress, and it's constant. And whenever that is the case, again, and this, some people, it'd be surprising. For the most part, what I tend to see is if there is a disturbance in your sleep, particularly in the quality or the length, that's going to really affect testosterone production in particular, and it's more pronounced in men. So this is a question I ask all my men whenever I see them. Are you men aware that you make all of your testosterone in your sleep? So, no, yes, you know. So if you don't sleep, then the chances of you actually making optimized hormones is very, very low. That's why one of my first questions I'll ask my new patients is, do you have morning erections? And if they say no, I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm going to test, of course, to confirm. And almost without fail, it is going to be low. Now, I have come across exceptions. Came across some patients who would tell me, no, I don't sleep at all. And sure enough, I was like, this person has low T, and they come back and it's off the chart. So there are exceptions.
Record for the record.
Record. It was shocking actually.
Yeah, you're the man.
So, but for the most part, at this particular point, I've probably seen 3,000 patients in 10 years and looked at all their hormones and tracked everything over a period of time. It's very rare for me to actually see really high levels of testosterone in men anymore.
Even young men.
Young men too, in their 20s and in their teens, unfortunately.
Ooh, so test the testes.
Yeah.
What's the relationship between body composition and hormone balance, and why do so many people chase weight loss as opposed to metabolic health?
Well, weight loss is just sort of built into our way of thinking, and even the way the medical system thinks. If you go see your doctor and you're grossly overweight, he or she will tell you should lose weight because you have the early signs of cardiovascular disease, for example. And it's easy to measure. You step on a scale, you're like, oh, that doesn't look very good. I need to lose 10 pounds. I know what I look like when I'm 10 pounds lighter. I can fit into that dress, or I can fit into those pants when I'm 10 pounds lighter. But what happens slowly over time is that what composes that body weight that you're targeting changes as you get older, right? You've got declining sex hormones. You're yo-yo dieting generally, trying to get ripped for the spring break trip or whatever that you do.
Or stark naked.
Yeah, or stark naked, and so you're cutting your calories aggressively to pursue a specific look, and meanwhile you are experiencing the early signs of metabolic syndrome. You have your sex hormones are kind of tanking and spiraling around you, or spiraling downward as you do that. And so I lost my train of thought as I was thinking about your abs. Yeah. Are they still there though?
Yeah. No.
All
It's
right.
I regressed. I gotta bring it back.
Yeah. Okay. I actually did lose my train of thought because I was thinking about your abs.
I actually, you kind of mentioned something. You talked about metabolism and sleep and a few other things. You talk about the wheel of health. How does that play a part in all this, I guess, in terms of like your metabolic health at large? And I guess, what is the wheel of health?
Well, the wheel of health is a philosophy. And you've heard the phrase holistic health, right? It's not a foreign term to any of you, probably. The wheel of health is a way to quantify that, because what is it? Like, do you have holistic health? Do you have holistic health? How would you even know? And the fact of the matter is, there has been, up until recently, no way to actually quantify that. And so holistic health would include things like your body's ability to detoxify. Your mental well-being is a part of holistic health. Like, you may have a six-pack, but you're suffering from depression, and you're about to lose the six-pack because of the depression, because of the food choices you make. There's no separation. They're all intertwined. Mm-hmm. So that's what the philosophy is. And how does it tie into metabolic health? Everything is tied into metabolic health. Your mental well-being, your strength, your cardiovascular health, your ability to move, so your mobility, mm-hmm. the nutrients that you have circulating in your body, your detoxification pathways and your gut health, your sleep, certainly, the hormones you have, mm-hmm. all of your hormones, not just sex hormones. They all play a very direct role in metabolic health. So if you're doing things like you sleep more, if you just sleep more, multiple spokes on that wheel expand. If you eat enough protein, which is really rare. Does anybody in here eat enough protein? You think? You think? Okay. Pop quiz. How much?
130, 150 grams.
Okay, so no. Next. 130? Oh, we got one.
She's a bodybuilder.
Okay, how about you?
So.
I should just about half my weight, like at least 60 to 70 if possible.
Okay, so that's not enough. Yeah. We've got one person.
I'm on keto, so I don't count.
You don't count. Okay. So I mean, it's really rare that we meet people that eat enough. And so if you want to have great metabolic health, you need to eat optimal levels of protein, which is sort of, some of you guys have heard me talk about protein as being like nature's Ozempic, because it just takes a lot of energy to break it down. And it's part of the muscle protein synthesis combination. And it also is satiating. And so when you eat a lot of protein, you eat less of other things. And as a result, metabolically mm-hmm. speaking, you become healthier until you go so far that you start to whittle away to nothing.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, in our modern lifestyle, or the society we live in, it's nearly impossible to get to that state where you're starving to death, because you just have access to everything, and your body starts flipping switches on. Like, for me, it's eat the ice cream, eat the ice cream, eat the ice cream.
That's my issue.
Yeah,
that's the regression of
that's
the body
the regression.
fat,
That's the 17%.
It was the extra ice cream that I ate.
Yeah.
You would think Halo Top, right? You're eating, it's healthier ice cream, but then you eat the whole freaking pint, and then maybe you eat the pint, and that's the issue. I'm actually curious, how much protein do you typically eat?
I eat between 160 and 200 grams a day.
Oh.
Yeah, and 200 grams just by mistake. I'm actually trying to target 160. I'm 165 pounds. And it's just because I'm like in a chill zone. Like, I'm not trying to lose any body fat. I'm just trying to optimize my mobility, maybe get a little bit stronger. That's not really that important. Most of my pursuit is around sleep. So you don't want to be in a caloric deficit when you're trying to sleep better. So it's just based on outcome. But I make the mistake of just, like, this morning I had 11 ounces of filet mignon for breakfast, 2 5.5-ounce fillets, and I wasn't going to cut one of the fillets in half. So I just might as well just eat both of them. Yeah. And so that's like 80 grams of protein right there in that one sitting. It's not weird for me. I know it sounds really weird for you guys. This is me 15 years later. That's evolved to this point. It's a habit. It's weird for me to not eat like 8 ounces of halibut for breakfast. I know it's weird for you. It's not for me. You actually, it starts feeling quite natural after, I don't know, maybe like 3 or 4 months, and you're just not even thinking about it. It'd be weird for me to have a bagel. Oh, that sounds quite tasty right now.
Mm. Yeah. This will be my last question, and then audience participation. more than welcome. So you meet someone, you meet a new client, right? You're working with them. What's the 90-day game plan that you would give them to help fix their metabolic health, and or like what do you tell them, advise them to ignore when it comes to that?
They're all different, but let's just like the most common set of problems.
Yeah.
People aren't eating enough protein.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
They're not. That is the single most, and I say this to all my patients. I've been in this industry for 18 years. So I was actually a trainer before I went into medicine. I did that for 4 years, trained while I was in med school, got into med school because I was working with clients and I was like, why are they not making progress? I was like, oh, I'm really beating up this patient up and down and they're doing hard workouts, but they're like not budging when it comes to their body fat. They're not losing that body fat. So I thought, okay, well maybe it's a hormone thing, maybe it's like a thyroid thing, maybe it's like there's something wrong with them that I haven't been able to figure out as a lay practitioner. So went into medicine, came here to Stark. And I will tell you, the one, it's more effective at really kind of seeing what levers are the most effective. It's more effective than looking at labs. It's that DEXA machine. And whether or not our clients or our patients are actually tracking their intake. And without fail, they've done studies on
You're talking about macros, tracking their intake.
Yeah. So they've done studies on this. When individual kind of research participants are not tracking their intake, their macro intake, their protein in particular. First of all, they're just like eyeballing it, they're just guessing. They are over-reporting, but they're actually under-eating. And we'll see it in the DEXA. So, you know, and again, we have eyes on whatever they're eating. They're tracking, we can see what, like either through the apps or, you know, any sort of calorie tracker or ChatGPT. We're looking at their intake, we're like, oh yeah, this makes sense, looking at their DEXA. So the first step, and that's the hardest thing to change in everything, because like diet and all of that is very cultural, it's very habitual. It's the first thing that people will not actually pay attention to. You come in and you can train like 3 times a week, maybe 5 times a week. You have to eat 3 times a day. And that's like on you as the patient. So what I say to all patients is this is what I've learned in 18 years. You cannot out-exercise, out-supplement, out-medicate, out-peptide poor nutrition. So that is where, like, at least me and my team, we're gonna work on first and foremost. Now, the other side is actually building muscle. And that's what, obviously, we're in a gym, and we're very good at executing on that. So that's what we'll be working in the first 90 days for sure.
And when it comes to nutrition in general, if you throw everything out the window except for protein and just pay attention to how much protein you're eating, you're going to kind of get into the right neighborhood just by doing that. It's not that complicated. Here's a question I get asked all the time. Well, what about protein bars and protein shakes? If you're eating 130 grams of protein a day, for example, and now you know you need to eat 180 grams, I'm guessing you're about 180 pounds, thereabout. You should eat protein bars and protein shakes to get there, and then eventually, as you are making progress, you slowly integrate or have real food for your meals, and you replace those bars, and you just don't want all the junk to come along with it, because that's going to create another set of issues down the road. But at the beginning, you know, you don't want to go from where you are to try to be perfect, because you're never going to maintain it. Just like chip away at it, eat 1 bar for morning snack or whatever, and then integrate protein into your breakfast, and then slowly you end up where it is, and then you're going to be like, dang, that Todd guy's so smart. He knew exactly what I needed. Look at me now. Things become really easy and habitual, and you need to turn them into actual habits in order to make it sustainable. It becomes really not that hard, which is why I've been able to do it for so long. And then this is really relevant to all. Who's retired here? A bunch of workers. Okay, good. You're my audience. All right, so you have to actually have energy at 10 o'clock in the morning. Right, you get up, you have a cup of coffee, you have breakfast, you get to work, you start nodding asleep at 10 o'clock in the morning or in the afternoon. One of the most profound changes that I experienced in the early Stark days, when I was told to eat this massive amount of protein, and I was just as shocked as you guys. I'm like, what? this seems ridiculous. A ribeye for breakfast? I couldn't comprehend it. What about Fruit Loops? You know, where are those? I want that diet. I want the Fruit Loop diet. But what I found almost immediately, like within 3 days, I realized I had just steady energy throughout the entire course of the day. I was able to focus at 10 o'clock in the morning instead of fall asleep. I was able to focus at 2 o'clock in the afternoon instead of fall asleep. I was able to focus at 10 o'clock at night in mediation with attorneys and be super sharp because primarily of the food that I eat, because it's regulating my blood sugar. I'm not getting big spikes like most people get. And so if you extrapolate this into, forget about the beautiful six-pack that you'll get or the nice booty you want to bolt onto the backside. Forget about those things for just a minute. You want to be successful. You want to be a leader in your space. You want to be persuasive and be able to connect with people and have the energy to do it for as many hours as I mean, this guy works like 21 hours a day. It's ridiculous. If you really want to be there and perform at your best for those 21 ridiculous hours, you are missing the boat if you're not eating a massive amount of protein relative to what you're currently eating.
Speaking of, any questions? Yeah.
So, as far as the protein, which one you would say, what is the right word? The problem with me is, maybe most of the people, I feel full. I will have chicken, for example, rotisserie chicken. I cannot eat too much. So any particular protein which is protein dense, more dense than other proteins?
It's a great question. One of the great benefits of protein, it is satiating. Like you can't overeat it really. It's very hard to do. So that's a benefit. If you find that you can't eat enough chicken, you eat like a whole chicken, or chicken breast, or chicken thighs. A whole chicken, like a rotisserie chicken. Okay, so you're getting a lot of fat in that chicken. If you're struggling to get enough protein, enough grams of protein in, you can switch to just chicken breast, and you'll find that it's much easier to consume enough protein because you're not getting a lot of calories. It's almost all protein. If you eat a thigh or a whole chicken, you're going to get a lot of calories, and that's going to kind of fill you up. Same thing with if you look at beef. A ribeye is going to fill you up faster than 8 ounces of filet, which is very, like my 11 and a half ounces of filet mignon this morning, I want to say is like 450 calories. It's not that calorically, or it doesn't have a lot of calories, right? Because there's no fat on it. Does that make sense? So just leaner cuts makes it easier.
My suggestion to patients is also whenever you're sitting with food, and if you have like carbs, and you have vegetables, and you have fats and stuff like that, you eat the protein first. So don't eat a salad before, don't eat the bread rolls before, and then you get to your protein. By then, you're not going to be taking that protein. The other thing is that, our patients are also in the process of building muscle. So as they're building lean mass, they're actually raising their metabolic rate. And their body is going to be like, hey, we actually need more protein, we need more fuel. Because now you actually have more lean mass that's much more metabolically active. There was a really great study that came out that showed, listen, the problem with Ozempic and Mounjaro right now, you see all these people losing a massive amount of weight, but they look emaciated. Guess what happens if they stop that medication?
Uh-oh.
That fat comes back plus something, plus more. It's because they literally have lost their lean mass. And they have lost, pretty much, they've reduced their metabolism. So then when you come off this medication and you don't have that kind of suppression of the appetite, then that they're just going to eat whatever they want, and it all comes back as fat. I have seen it over and over and over again. And again, out of the about 10,000, not 10,000, but 1,000 patients that we see in and out throughout the year, I've only had to prescribe Ozempic, actually not Ozempic, but tirzepatide, Mounjaro. I've only had to prescribe it to 10 patients. And that's like they've tried every single thing and like they've hit a plateau. And that's where I was like, okay, if I had to suspect, you probably have a GLP-1 deficiency. And that is actually a thing, by the way. And that's where I was like, okay, this is appropriate to use this medication. But I don't actually have to prescribe it much because of everything that we do here.
And when the patient gets much healthier metabolically speaking, do you have to continue utilizing that medication?
No. It's not something you should be on forever, no.
And you're using it in small doses?
Microdosing, a lot lower than what's commercially available.
Okay, so it sort of eliminates food chatter. Like I've just talked to her about this. I would love to eliminate the ice cream chatter, you know, like at the end of the day, where it's talking to me from the freezer. But I don't need it, and there's a little bit of healthy struggle in trying to push back against those desires. Does that make sense? Like having that struggle is an important part of being a human for other parts of my life. I would love to just flip that switch off, but it's probably not good for me overall. For patients that have metabolic syndrome or other such issues related to weight, they, if they have small doses and they're doing other things, which Alice is prescribing as well, like strength training, eating enough protein, walking more, like going from 3,000 steps a day, which is totally sedentary, to say 6,000 or 7,000 steps a day, doing some zone 2 cardio. Gut health starts to improve just by moving. They start absorbing the nutrients better, and then you get this spin up in the right direction with that temporary solution that enables them to get through that difficult time, and then they just go the natural route from there.
Yep, Isha?
Food intolerances, could that be attributed to metabolic issues?
Oh, that's a great one.
So a lot of the times when you ask a patient what their food intolerances are, and again, we used to test every single patient coming in with a food sensitivity panel. Like, the top 3 offenders on the food sensitivity panel that we used was gluten, dairy, and eggs. Yeah, gluten, dairy, and eggs, yeah. So all 3. So yeah. So again, there are, of course, patients who have a predisposition, some kind of variation of, gluten sensitivity, either celiac or non-celiac gluten sensitivity. But then the question is like, well, why is that gut not working in the first place? Now, by the way, Asians can't tolerate dairy. Like, come on. We don't, genetically speaking, we can't tolerate that stuff. So obviously, staying away from that is going to be important to prevent kind of like inflammation of the gut lining. Now, what I'll see a lot of the times is patients will come off of some of these sensitivities and they start to depuff. So that kind of inflammatory puffiness actually goes away when they take some of these foods, away. And we work on restoring gut function, so healing the gut lining with omega-3s or glutamine or like demulcents, and then retest them, reintroduce some of those foods to see how they tolerate it. If the gut's working appropriately, you should be able to tolerate these foods, unless it's, like I said, celiac disease, which is genetically kind of driven.
If it's optimal to eat I guess amount of protein as much as the amount of one's body weight, what's the optimal amount of carbohydrates and fats for the best optimal metabolic health?
It depends on what your goals are. So with the DEXA, I don't know if we explain the DEXA. A lot of people know the DEXA for the bone mass density. Yes, we assess for that, but we mainly use it to assess for your body composition. So how much lean mass you have, how much body fat you have, and how much visceral fat you have, which is actually the more dangerous fat. Now, when it comes to what's considered obese, so for women it's a bit different. I believe it's above 30%.
It is 32%.
Anything above 32% consider obese for a female.
How often do we see above 32%?
A lot for females.
Like what percentage would you give?
75%.
That's scary, huh?
Now, by the way, they're perimenopausal or postmenopausal women. The most obese female I've ever seen was a 56% body fat. And, that was bad. That's bad. Like at that particular point, postmenopausal, that's where I'm like, yeah, we got to throw everything at you. We got to throw all the hormones. We got to throw probably tirzepatide in there. You got to lift. You got to eat your protein. You've got to do everything humanly possible to try to reverse this. But it is hard. I will tell you that. So yeah, when it comes to carbs and fats, that's actually where we kind of toggle that depending on what your goals are. And we in the research, and this is established, you cannot be obese. Obesity in itself will actually increase your risk of all-cause mortality. And I do scans of the carotids. I order scans of the heart to see if there's plaque there. The biggest smoking gun is actually not cholesterol. It's high percent body fat. So, yeah, that's where we'd kind of toggle it.
This obesity rate is so shocking and so profound. And it's so common. Like we're seeing it from a body comp standpoint. I would describe us as caring for a cross section of the U.S. They're not that way socioeconomically, but in terms of body composition, they kind of like what I'm trying to tell you is we don't see obese people because they're obese. They're just coming in to get healthier, and they didn't know that they were obese. I just recently had a friend come in who's, I want to say she's in her mid-50s, so just a few years younger than me, and attractive, Vietnamese, so with all of the Asian things that come along with it, and you know, reasonably shapely, and she was right around 31% body fat, and that's dangerous, right? She had no idea. And what does that do for female bone mineral density as well, which is, of course, very, very risky, especially as you approach 60 years old, roughly.
Yeah.
What does that body composition look like? Or what can you extrapolate bone mineral density from that kind of body composition?
It depends. Yeah, you could see lower bone mineral density and whatnot, but sometimes because there's so much weight that they're carrying around, they have.
Yeah,
you know.
No, but I'm talking about someone that doesn't look grossly overweight.
Oh, you're talking
So
about.
she doesn't have any muscle mass. She's carrying around a bunch of body fat.
So that's actually the official term of that is actually called sarcopenic obesity. So that's a fancy word for skinny fat. Seen that? So yeah, they look. We had a previous employee, beautiful looking woman, and she did her DEXA, and she was like close to 30%. She was very offended. But yes, like that skinny fat that we talk about, it's they don't have lean mass. If they don't have lean mass, they don't have bone mass density. It's not great. And once they approach perimenopause, unfortunately, remember that lean mass, that muscle mass is your metabolism. You don't have that metabolism, you go into perimenopause, postmenopause, then your body fat's going to skyrocket because your hormones are not in place. Estrogen is important for insulin sensitivity and where your fat's actually distributed. So this is why perimenopausal women or postmenopausal women coming in at 50 plus percent body fat, it is dangerous. It is dangerous. So we try our very best to, if I have a patient who is like before that whole thing is actually happening, like before symptoms showing up, I really do a lot of education about, hey, you've got to develop your lean mass and protect your bones. Because the problem is that after the age of 60, if a woman or a man falls and breaks a hip, their chances of dying within a year is 30%. That is the cold, hard fact right there. So you've got to do everything in your power right now to protect your bone mass density and your lean mass.
But there's also the opportunistic end of that, right? Like my mother is 80 and she is petite. She doesn't look grossly overweight.
No.
Something like 40% body fat. It just means she has no muscle. So, and it's common. Like when I go home and visit, we go to church and I see all her friends and she's introducing me to all of her friends and everything. And they're all in the same boat. They're just tiny, sort of bird-like frail, right? And so it's not an aesthetic thing. It's an experience of being in the body problem. So in her body, she's constantly in pain because she's using this little bit of muscle to carry around this weight. She only weighs 130 pounds maybe. And all of her joints are just inflamed and ache as a result of carrying this weight around without the assets necessary to really do the job. That's the future if you don't get your metabolic health in order now, right? And it's also, so that's the dark side of it. And she's had to replace a knee, wants to have the other knee replaced, has hip problems. If she falls, it's pretty bleak. That's the dark side. The upside is she could be 80 and have a flat stomach and a nice round booty because it's just muscle. It's optional. Like she can get her metabolic health in order, probably not at this stage, but if she started 20 years ago, and developed her glutes, she likely will not fall because she has better balance. She has lots of muscle mass on her body, which means her blood sugar, her fasted blood sugar will be lower. Her joints won't hurt like they do currently. The bone mineral density will be where it should be. So if she falls when she's 80, she's not going to break a hip because she's like Wolverine, right? Like we have that potential because this is our body. What I just described, what I wish my mother was, those options are created by us, by the decisions we make and how we use our body and what food we put into it and how much we sleep, our hormones as well. Those are all in our control. They just happen. The feedback loop is so giant. This is the challenge in health. If we went back 100,000 years, we were all very active. Maybe we were starving to death part of the time, but the food that we ate was really good. We probably didn't have problems with bone mineral density. We didn't have problems with diabetes, that's for sure. We weren't obese. And so the experience of life in your body was much different than what it is today. We have the same potential. We're genetically exactly the same. We just don't use our bodies in the same way, and we don't have scarcity. Eating, going back all the way to protein, because it's so tightly connected to metabolic health, protein is it's like a barrier you can place between where you are and all the access to the donuts that you currently have, or in my case, in Chirag's case, the ice cream. If I eat 11.5 ounces of filet mignon and I look at the ice cream, I'm likely not going to binge because I'm stuffed, right? Does that make sense? I'm satiated, and that's why it's so important today because we have access to so much. We didn't have that when we were developing as Homo sapiens.
Awesome. Cool. Well, can we give a round of applause to Todd and Alice for sharing?
Thank you, guys.
We host these events every month, usually second Wednesday of the month, and always change up the topics. So you guys will be getting more information from us. I know you guys are giving out some special discounts, right? If you get for first timers. Actually, how many first timers here? There you go.
Cool.
Okay, on the table we have two things. One is a 50% discount on our intake, and the other one is a 50% discount on a mobility treatment by one of our mobility specialists. So if you think you're somewhat broken, like your body hurts, well, you can really do either, or you can do both. But there's significant discounts. I think all of you should have the information, and all of you should go through a mobility session to experience what it feels like to push yourself to the edge when it comes to improving your mobility. It's not a workout. It will feel like one, but it won't have the same outcomes as a traditional workout. So those are two. If you click through there, you're going to hear from our lovely salesperson. Her name is Alex, and she'll also have other things to talk to you about, like you can come in for a free training session if you want. You can sign up for a larger package. She'll present all the options, but those are the two most basic. And if you're not interested in those, I highly recommend you join me for breakfast tomorrow morning on Instagram, and you can see what I'm having. Yeah, my handle is testosterone. Testosterone. Who follows me here? Yeah, okay, I got a few fans. Hopefully the rest of you don't have Instagram, but if you do, you should follow me. And if you should, I highly recommend our podcast. It's called Health is a Skill, like I mentioned. We also have a YouTube channel that has the full podcast as well as shorter form YouTube videos. Those are very informative, and essentially what it is a collection of the thoughts that I have about the human body currently. And it's like I wouldn't call it a hobby, it's my vocation. I'm constantly learning and trying to put pieces together in creative ways that make sense for people that actually have regular lives. No fitness professionals, no retired people, actually work, have families, have time constraints. That's what the entire podcast is focused on.
Cool. Thank you guys.
Thank you, guys.